Eureka!
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 Okay, so we started recording. Hi. Hi everyone. We're doing today a webinar about urban regeneration from the Municipality of Timișoara as partners in Eureka project Urban Innovators. And yes, as I was saying, today we're talking about urban regeneration, a term very freely used and very popular. I will share with you like a definition, just to have it while I introduce my colleagues. So today we will try to paint as accurate a picture of this problem or approach, urban regeneration, and how we do it and how we started some of our projects in the city of Timișoara, our approach to this issue. And to do this, I invited three of my wonderful colleagues that will just navigate you into painting this picture and to understanding urban regeneration more accurately. Firstly, I'd like to introduce to you Roxana Pătrulescu. Hi, Roxana. Unmute yourself.
Hello.
And please
Hello,
share
everybody.
your screen. I'm just taking this off. Yes, you have the floor.
Okay, just let me open my PDF. Sorry. Okay. So I will briefly go through Timișoara's municipality approach towards the heritage conservation and urban regeneration in regard to Fabric neighborhood. Okay, I will give you a bit of context since we are talking about a specific neighborhood in our city. Timișoara is a city around 300,000 people with a rich history and culture dating back to Roman times, and a place that has been part of the Ottoman and the Austro-Hungarian empires, and which reflects all these in its heritage. It has, of course, been behind the Iron Curtain, the mass unrest that sparked the Romanian Revolution of 1989 having started here. The current urban structure of Timișoara and the historical buildings that exist today are the result of a 300 years long tradition of urban planning that started with the arrival of the Austrians in 1716, when the previously Ottoman city was demolished and rebuilt based on a drawing board design. Fabric neighborhood is one of the 5 historical neighborhoods of Timișoara located in the eastern part of the city. Its name comes from the large number of factories that were built here since its formation in the 18th century. At first, the historical suburb was separated from the city fortress by a surface of unbuilt land. You can see it here on the map on the left. That had a defense purpose. Then at the beginning of the 19th century, Fabric neighborhood, together with all the other historical neighborhoods that were like satellites around the main neighborhood, the Citadel neighborhood, they all started to be connected to the city center through wide boulevards and, of course, bridges that would have to cross the river and afterwards the Bega Canal, and in our case through Decebal River that you can see here. I hope I'm not showing you. Yes, somewhere now, yes, here. This happened as a result of the radial concentric systematization of Timisoara, which began in 1899 with the demolition of the Habsburg fortress. That way we could build coming from the all the historical neighborhoods towards the city center. And this has shaped, of course, the urbanism of our city. Today's Fabric historical part of the neighborhood comprises of street networks and constructions dating from the 18th century to the 20th. That are represented by multi-story buildings forming, in most cases, continuous street fronts, but also apartment buildings erected during the communist regime. The historical architecture is dominated by the Art Nouveau, neoclassical, and eclectic styles. The density of the buildings is relatively high on the main streets, and the core of the neighborhood, 3 to 4 floors around Traian, which you can see here in the picture on the left, and Romanilor Square. Timișoara has more than 14,000 buildings dating from the 18th, 19th, and the 20th century, part of which have historical and architectural value. About 950 of them are classified as historical monuments that benefit from the protection ensured by the law and applied by the authorities. And the historical core of Fabric neighborhood contains more than 220 of them. You can see it here on the map. The dominant function of the neighborhood is residential, followed by small commercial spaces on the ground floor of the buildings, places of worship, public institutions, public markets, and the occasional industrial sites that you can see represented on the general urban plan that we are very happy to say that is going to be renewed. We are just in the final phase and we are going to have a new general urban plan. And you can see represented here in the plan in brown. As part of Timisoara, Fabric is also a melting pot of different ethnic groups, languages, and religions. There are Hungarians, Serbs, Germans, Jews in addition to Romanians, and Catholic, Protestants, and Muslims in addition to Orthodox. The on-site evaluation conducted in 2010 that you can see here on the right, more than 10 years ago, shows in green public spaces and buildings that were rehabilitated at the time, and in yellow the partially rehabilitated ones, and in orange and red the spaces and buildings that were not rehabilitated, respectively, that were in an advanced state of decay. With the little restoration work done by the owners since this study was conducted, mostly regarding leaking roofs, the otherwise irresponsible repairs and use of inappropriate building materials, the increase in private vehicle ownership, and the intensification of private and transit traffic, today, we are facing the advanced decay of the built heritage, the decay of the public space, and an outdated and an undersized technical infrastructure, and an undefined cultural identity within the Fabric neighborhood. Having said that, the process through which the municipality is looking to increase the living standard, to improve the quality of life and the state of the built environment, and to redefine the cultural identity of Fabric neighborhood comprises of 8 major tactical fields of action, if we can call them that, and I will briefly go through 5 of them. And afterwards, my colleagues Despina Ungurianu and Roxana Cancal, they are both going to develop 2 of the 5 themes that I'm going to go through quickly now. So yes, these are the 8 tactical fields that we as a municipality are tackling right now in regard to Fabric neighborhood. One of the 5 that I'm going to go through is having an involved local community and culturally active neighborhood through cultural funding opportunities made possible through the Center for Projects and the House of Culture. For me, this one is one of the most fascinating layers of the process regarding the integrated approach towards the rehabilitation of fabric, since this all started with a small process of management and, of course, a bit of financial support given to the local NGO Cetățean de Traian back in December 2021, when they organized their first cultural event in Traian Square as part of the city's winter fair, which traditionally until then only took part in the city center, and which the municipality wanted to extend to the other neighborhoods as well. This was possible through the House of Culture, a public cultural institution subordinated to the local council of the municipality. Fast forward 2 years later, Cetățean de Traian NGO has many successful cultural events under its belt: concerts, workshops, guided tours, art installations that attracted not only young and active people from all over the city, but also involved the local community. Today, Cetățean de Traian NGO is regarded as a mediator between the municipality and the fabric community. I mean, emerging cultural actors, entrepreneurs, and regular inhabitants. So it's a successful story that keeps on developing and gives fruits every year. Then we have cultural infrastructure, and I'm going to talk about briefly about Ștefania Palace. It's also the building that the office that I'm part of is in which is the office that I'm part of located right now. It is the building in this image here. The space owned by the municipality is located on one of the corners of the Traian Square in Fabric. It had not been used for many years when it came into the administration's focus, while trying to figure out what was best for this space. The space is this one here on the ground floor. It used to be a small neighborhood shop, and then it was vacated. And in 2020 and 2021, we were trying to figure what's the best approach for it. Right about then, the organizers of the 2022 edition of the Timișoara Architecture Biennial were seeking a new valuable space that could be opened to the public, as they do with each edition of the biennial, and that later could remain on the map of the city's cultural infrastructure. At the time of conceiving the theme of the biennial, the city, a common good, Palatul Ștefania, the Ștefania Palace, matched the curatorial concept and the needs of the organizers. With quite a lot of logistic and bureaucratic effort on the part of the Beta 2022 team, Palatul Ștefania became the headquarters of the main exhibition of the biennial that in fact contained 60 installations throughout the whole city that were placed through a grid that connected the whole city with the purpose of showcasing the city, to the public. Ștefania Palace was opened for the first time to the public for cultural purpose between September 23 and October 23 in 2022, and was visited by approximately 2,000 people. With the support of the municipality, Beta 2022 also activated two of the Fabric's main public spaces, Romanilor Square through the opening event of the biennial, and Traian Square, which for a weekend, the whole weekend, became the place for a football tournament, involving like this the local residents, professional athletes, and amateurs of all ages. The intervention of the Beta 22 organizers in the case of Ștefania Palace demonstrated that the respective space could host specific cultural and activation events for the local community. Thus, as a result, the Ștefania Palace was handed for administration to the Timișoara Project Center that also handles all the events for the 2020 through 2023 cultural capital of culture, Timișoara Capital of Culture. Sorry. And the Center for Project focuses on spaces that they take into administration and which they put into use through their own isolated events or through partners. At this moment, the existence of the spaces has been communicated, of course, to the operators of the cultural program Timisoara 2023. Of course, they have priority, but the Timisoara Project Center is aiming in the next years after the Capital of Culture will have ended. They are seeking to have to identify collectives that ensure a constant curated program for each of the spaces that they have identified and put into use through the Capital of Culture, Ștefania Palace being one of them. Then we have the neighborhood management service, and Despina Ungureanu will give you more details in the following moments. I will just briefly go through this. I am very excited by this part of the presentation and our activity in the City Hall. This is part of the participative budget and neighborhood management. It's a department established within the municipality almost 2 years ago. Despina will give you more details. Like many other departments, right now I think there are about 7 neighborhood managers, and they are Despina, I think you are planning on bringing more people to the team, if I'm not mistaken. And each of them is responsible for 1 or 2 or more of the city's neighborhoods. What does it mean? What do they do? The work of my colleagues is composed of recurrent visits to the area, mapping actors based or active in the area and public objectives and public spaces, studying the evolution of the area, population structure, type of housing, you name it, consulting the local community and facilitating different forms of collaboration, tracking reports from the community and seeing them through until they have a solution, and encouraging and supporting volunteer activity in their respective area. In my opinion, they are doing a fantastic job in having a continuous dialogue with the local community, facilitating quick problem solving, as you can see in the pictures below of the presentation, cleaning the public space, repairing the clock in the Traian Square, unlocking blocked construction sites, things that you would think that are small, but actually for the local community, they count a lot. And before that, they didn't have a dialogue partner to whom they could address their issues to. And now they do, which is fantastic. Then, of course, we have urban infrastructure public funding, and this is the Urban Regeneration Traian Square area project that my colleague Roxana Pătrulescu will give you more details about. The investment targets a surface of around 60,000 square meters, and it will ensure the urban regeneration of the area and the enhancement from the point of view of the public, touristic and commercial space. That means the rehabilitation, modernization, and rearrangement of the urban public spaces, the reconsideration of the ways we are using them, reducing traffic, creating new green spaces, of course, a better administration of the public domain, smart city interventions through a correlation of interventions on public infrastructure, green spaces, intelligent technologies, and enhancing the historical and architectural potential of the buildings, implicitly of the tourism in the area, developing and stimulating economic activity by encouraging the opening of businesses, structures. What is amazing about this project, in my opinion, is the fact that it already went through 3 meetings with the local community in order to gather different perspectives, in order to listen to different and all points of view and take into consideration the needs of the inhabitants of the Fabric neighborhood. And the last layer that I'm going to go through regards investment in tourism promotion. It aims to develop the tourism infrastructure of the city through a network of 5 thematic urban routes, an urban orientation identity manual and strategy that will be promoted through 3 means of communication. We are going to have a family of design objects that you can see pictured here on the bottom of the presentation, placed throughout the city, a website, and of course, printed materials. One of the 5 routes is targeting the Fabric neighborhood, and it will lead the visitors of the city along the streets of the old historical part of the place. Having said that, the presented approach aims to improve the quality of life and the built environment of a neighborhood of historical and symbolic importance through both restrictive means as well as permissive measures, and by actions that aim to redefine the cultural identity of the place, because it is lost a bit and undefined. The strategy considers the fact that the heritage is a major contributor to sustainable development and is inextricably linked to community and land resources. That is why through each part of the process, my colleagues and I, we are trying to understand and consider all points of view at an early stage of the process, through a broader consultation and coordination, while looking beyond conventional limits of collaboration and working in a combined effort with all groups that have an impact on heritage. And I think Despina Ungureanu will talk next, and she will further give you details about what they are doing with the neighborhood managers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Roxana. Yes, I introduced to you Despina Ungureanu. She will, as Roxana said, give you further details about their activity and also making more light into this urban regeneration process that we have started for the Fabric neighborhood and Traian area. Despina.
Hi, and thank you for this opportunity to present what we are doing in our structure. I will go a bit higher in this story to present a bit the context where we started this to work as in the neighborhood management. A few years ago, in 2020, the municipality, at the initiative of some active people in the community, some NGOs, they joined the OGP program, the Open Govern Partnership Program, which entitles to put in place some changes at the local administration so that the municipality is more transparent, more accountable, and has more effective participation process for their citizens. In this context, but also together with the vision of the new administration, the main change that came along was to change the structure of the whole municipality, so that the departments serve the needs of the citizens instead of just representing some functionalities based on some procedures. So it follows more the logic of the needs and the citizen, and less bureaucracy. In this regard, one of the main changes was that there's a new department called Community Relations, and within this department there's a new structure, the one that I manage, participatory governance and neighborhood management it's called. And yes, one of the biggest part of our activities is the neighborhood management, as Roxana said. But Besides this, we also are in charge with the participatory budgeting and any participatory processes that are done at the level of the municipality. In 2021, we also launched an online platform called Decidem, Decidem Timișoara, which is based on the Barcelona model of Decidim, where there are several layers of engagement for each participatory process. And we doubled this online platform with offline events so that we create opportunities for any citizens to engage in the process. In this way, we try to have from the beginning a design for each participatory process based on the specific tasks of that process or that the project or the subject that we expose to the citizens. The platform allows also to have like surveys or just to engage people in conversation where they can see each other's responses compared to it does a bit more than what the legislation is asking in terms of participation and allows more transparency and more interaction, not only between the administration and citizens, but also between citizens. And this adds some value added. This brings some value added to consultation processes because we can attract more engagement based on what citizens consider important or what they propose as a change in any project. For the Traian project, for example, we try to build it as to build a process in 3 steps. We first made a presentation for the citizens in the area to understand the project and to discuss with the technical team that worked on that project and see exactly what are the changes that will be made, what are the steps that will be done in this project. And after having this basic information, we organized 2 other events to debate what people request as a change in this project. Throughout the whole process, people could send their proposals online or in written, also through the neighborhood management structure, but also through Roxana's structures, who is based actually in that neighborhood. And at each meeting with the community, we gathered this feedback and integrated it in the new solution. At the end of the process, we had a report saying how many of the proposals were integrated in the final solution, and with a response from the technical team based on why yes or why not. Each proposal was integrated. Furthermore, we have now we are working now on a strategy to try to understand the needs of the community in terms of engagement with the municipality and the instruments that we can use to reach people that are not usually engaged in such processes. Because as they are designed now, based on the legal requirements, most of them have some barriers. So we have to create instruments that reaches people based on their availability and their level of understanding of each subject that affects their lives. In these terms, we are working now with a team to analyze the needs, both internally and externally, and to have at the end a strategy for improvement public participation for the next 5 years. In parallel, we know that one of the ways to engage people more is to have active people in the community that act as ambassadors and that creates civic groups to represent the community. It's better for us as well to have this role as a neighborhood manager within the city hall to create this to mediate the relation between the community and the other structures in the municipality, but we need this manager to discuss with several civic groups, because discussing individually with each citizen, it's not efficient, and we don't have so many resources. At the moment, we only have 5 neighborhood managers. The team evolved a lot in the last 2 years. So at this moment, we are only 5. And yeah, they have the whole city. So they don't have a few neighborhoods. They have quite large areas that they manage. And they need to know that area in detail and know their problems. And yeah, it is difficult to have this overview if you don't have civic groups that collects the needs and prioritize them. So in the next phase, we are working now with the Center for Projects, and they have an open call for civic engagement projects to try to create these civic groups. Of course, in the beginning for some small projects, and to try to grow them and have collaboration in each neighborhoods in this way. We do have some very good examples in 2 neighborhoods where the people organize themselves already with some Facebook groups where there are thousands of people living in that area. And when someone raises a problem, there is someone else who collects several problems, and then they vote which is more urgent, or where they want to engage resources to resolve it. Because I think this is available in any city or any country. The public administration does not have endless funds and resources to solve all the problems. So we have to prioritize and find the middle way where citizens also have their quality of life increased, and we can have fast results so they can see. It's also important for citizens to understand the processes through which a project can be developed and implemented, because most times the expectations are high, and the response and the pace at which the public administration works is not as citizens expect. And with these neighborhood managers, we try to balance the expectations of the citizens and explain them at any step, whatever they ask for, what are the requirements, how much it takes, and so that they can understand why things are not happening faster. Okay, regarding the participatory budgeting, we had 2 editions, one last year and one this year. And we learned on the way that if we don't go in the neighborhoods and discuss with people beforehand, it is difficult to have projects that are actually with good impact in the community. So this year we we try to organize more meetings in the first phase, where people were asked to make proposals, so to explain the process and engage citizens to identify the needs, identify what projects they can propose in their areas, and formulate the proposal so that it has better chances to go into the voting phase. Based on last year's experience, we also noticed that there are some areas within the city, or actually at in some neighborhoods in the city, where people are not engaged at all. They did not make proposals, they did not vote, or these levels were very, very, very low. So this year we had a pilot campaign with the dedicated budget for 4 areas. They were chosen also based on a social diagnosis made a few years back, which categorized them as marginalized urban areas. And actually Fabric is one of them, but we excluded it from this pilot because it already has a lot of resources dedicated with this regeneration and all the other things that are happening. And actually the community is very vibrant here. So we had these dedicated budgets in 4 areas so that people can understand that there is, they will definitely have at least one project implemented in their areas. It was pretty difficult to bring people together because the level of engagement in public decisions in these neighborhoods is very, very low. But having recurring meetings and working with NGOs that already serve these communities, we managed to reach a few people that act as ambassadors and created some groups that made proposals in these areas. So we now have 5 projects for these 4 areas that will be implemented in the next 2 years. You can actually see all this on our platform, decidem.primariateme.ro, and all our participatory processes. And I think I'm done.
Okay, thank you. Super interesting. Thank you very much. Yeah. So we'll continue then with the big infrastructure project that is being developed in the city hall by the projects incubator department, and my colleague Roxana number 2 is going to tell us more about it. So this is going more into detail about one approach of urban regeneration that's being done as we speak. Okay, Roxana, you have the floor.
Hello. Do you guys see the presentation?
Yes.
So yes, my name is Roxana Pătrulescu, and I'm going to present this project that the Municipality of Timișoara is currently preparing. The documentation is elaborated by Prodeco Architecture and Engineering and Landberg Architecture from Cluj. And you've already heard from my colleagues about the Fabric area. And this project aims to respect the principle of the New Leipzig Charter in trying to create places that enable cultural, social, ecological, and economical interaction between people, places of pluralism, creativity, and solidarity, and high quality, open and safe public spaces that function as vibrant urban places, allowing people to interact, exchange, and integrate into society. So the study area for the project is the Fabric District, also known as the Traian area, which is located in the eastern part of the city of Timișoara, close to the central area and easily connected to the city center by public transport. The Fabric neighborhood is a multicultural and varied neighborhood from an urban point of view. It is an area of symbolic importance for the citizens of the municipalities, but also for the tourists who visit our city. Unfortunately, at the present moment, the area is marked by the lack of restoration and rehabilitation activities in the last 20 years, and the lack of tourism promotion in the past years. But these are all changing. Following the analysis of the existing situation, we have identified some main dysfunctions that we plan to address. There's a great disproportion of space allocated in favor of private car traffic and not enough for pedestrians and bicycles. There is a lack of dedicated routes for cyclists, reduced accessibility for people with disabilities, no parking for disability people, undersized sidewalks considering the intense pedestrian traffic that goes through the area, a lot of degraded surfaces, very little urban furniture on some streets, also lack of trees on some of the streets in the intervention area, and green spaces that do exist are not very well maintained. A low level of public lighting, a lot of overhead cables that ruin the general architectural aspect. And some of the principles that we wanted to apply in this project. You want a safe and healthy environment, restricting car traffic, safer intersections, prioritizing vulnerable users, reducing pollution, planting a lot of trees and low vegetation, having more modern and efficient lighting. We want the space to be accessible and comfortable for all the users. Better pedestrian crossings, public spaces accessible for everybody, people with disabilities, elderly people, children, maximizing the surface for cyclists, and last but not least, efficient public transport. The streets have the streets and the squares, in addition to the role of ensuring circulation, must be considered in the first row as spaces of social interaction, and we need to reallocate the most available space for all users, activate residual surfaces, connect the neighborhood with the backup channel and with the city center. Creating more spaces for spending time outdoors, sports, and playgrounds, and encouraging the presence of children in a public space. How we mean to do that? The proposed types of streets. A lot of the streets that are circulated by cars will become pedestrian areas, shared only with public transport. So in the pedestrian area, the vehicle drivers only have access if they live in this area or if they're providing a door-to-door service, delivery, and the speed of a maximum of 5 kilometers per hour. So a pedestrian can feel safe and on this type of streets. Also, we reduce the circulation by introducing only one-way streets where bicycles are allowed to travel in both directions, but the car traffic is limited to one direction. Other residential area and streets that in these areas, pedestrians can use the entire width of the street, and children's play is allowed, and vehicle drivers are obliged to drive at a speed of no more than 20 kilometers per hour, and not to park outside the specially designated places. So a lot of the street surface is given back to the people. You can see this is the scheme of the streets before the intervention, and there are most of them are circulated both ways by cars. And after the intervention, we propose to limit a lot of the traffic. You see, a lot of the streets have changed from two-way streets into one-way streets. Our main area of intervention contains a lot of streets that have banned the use for cars. The existing bicycle lanes are very, very scarce. There are just a couple of bicycle lanes on the embankment of the Bega channel, and inside the space of our project there are no bicycle lanes. So currently the routes for cyclists in the neighborhood can only be found on the Bega channel. The proposal aims to use different types of bicycle infrastructure adapted to local condition, so to result in a network of interconnected, safe, and direct routes for bicycles covering the whole surface of the neighborhood and providing connections to neighboring areas. So we're going to set up the bicycle lanes and tracks with ample and sufficient width, and the main so this is the existing main pedestrian areas, so people can use the whole of the space as pedestrian areas, but they have to share it with cars. In the proposed plans, the colored surfaces, the yellow surfaces are exclusive, are spaces not exclusive, but where pedestrians have priority. And some of the streets have become pedestrian streets. We have taken out the circulation from the main squares, from Traian Square and from Romanilor Square. The main pedestrian areas will be paved with natural stone tiles, and by limiting the types of paving, layouts and level differences, a uniform image of the surface is created. On the secondary streets, it is proposed to pave with concrete slabs with natural stone chips. Some of the road surfaces and parking spaces will be paved with the cubic stone partially reclaimed from the side from Piața Traian, where we will change the pavement, but we will use as much as the existing cubic stone as we can. This is a scheme of the trees and the vegetation, the existing trees and vegetation, and this is the proposed one. So the guiding principles are based on accentuating a naturalistic aspect in balance with the existing architectural heritage, improving the diversity and ecological and landscape quality with new species, creating unified and attractive image. So we are going to plant a number of 360 trees, and we're only going to remove the trees that are very damaged, and that's like 15 trees on the whole surface of the project. This scheme contains pedestrian spaces correlated with the vegetation plan. The general planning concept for the vegetation aims to expand the vegetable and permeable surfaces, to introduce layers of different species from small species to grasses and perennial to medium height, like shrubs, to high trees. It is also important to introduce a new specimen of trees of small, medium, and large size, chosen in such a way as to integrate into the urban context. We want to introduce various textures, volumes, and structuring elements at the ground level with accents throughout the year, new leafy trees to provide shade and color, the landscape solution refer to a contemporary approach to urban green spaces and aim to provide an attractive green space which also supports the concept of biodiversity. So a varied assortment of ornamental species and varieties were chosen. The landscape proposal, through the diversity of the vegetation that I was talking about, will provide a sustainable setting for temporary fauna, like small birds and small mammals. We hope to create a very ecological space. Returning to the paving, pedestrian surfaces will be paved with natural stone tiles. As I said, some of these will be reclaimed from the Traian Square. And we aim to maximize the permeable walking surfaces that allow the absorption of water back into the soil by the use of paths made of different aggregates, sands, gravels, and broken stone in the green spaces and in some of the squares. As I said before, one of the problems of the area is the lack of urban furniture, so we propose to complete the setting with a contemporary line of urban furniture, very simple, characterized by comfort, flexibility in use, durability. These objects were made of wood, metal, and other materials of good quality that do not degrade in time. That was a requirement that we had for the architects, because oftentimes the urban furniture that the municipality introduces degrade over time, and we wanted to have materials that have very good durability. We wanted to have as many playgrounds as possible, located in several areas of the neighborhood, on the pedestrian, residential street, in the green areas, because child play is an essential element for the activation of neighborhoods. So currently the fabric district is organized around 4 squares, but I think today that we'll only be talking about the main square, the Traian Square. The central square is the main place for meeting and manifestation and recreation and communication for the inhabitants of the neighborhood. The current pavement has a design that contains a grid, and this existing grid will be preserved, but for better accessibility and flexibility, we will be replacing the existing pavement that, as I've already said, will be reused in other areas of the project with large format natural stone slabs. This is a rendering of the proposed square. In the tradition of the European city that I was referring to with the Leipzig Charter, the central square is is the heart of the neighborhood where people meet, and it's a place for recreation and communication. So the architects have proposed a number of ways that the square can be used for different kinds of events. The first one would be imagined for exhibitions and fairs. The second one is for concerts, shows, open air cinema. This one would be a marketplace, a temporary marketplace for like a local farmers market and for local artisans and producers. You can design it for Christmas fairs, and the space allows for various activities and scenarios, and it can be reimagined for every season. A very interesting event that took place during the Beta Architecture Biennale in Timisoara. The square was used as a football field. It was a project that had the motto that football is an infrastructure for democracy, and it was the winning solution of a local competition through which the whole role of the historic Traian Square was reimagined. So the people of Timișoara were invited to play football in the Traian Square as part of this unique event. Yeah, so that's about it from me. The project is much larger and involves a lot of other spaces, but I thought that for today we had some limited time. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I hope that these three approaches and much detailed view of the project for Traian wrapped this whole thing up, and the approach of the Municipality of Timișoara towards urban regeneration projects is a little more clearer for you, and I hope it gives knowledge and further insight, and maybe sparks some ideas for the students of our course. Yes, thank you, and we'll see each other live next time. Bye.
Bye.
Eureka!
Eureka!
Eureka! Eureka!
Eureka!
Eureka!
Eureka!
Eureka!